Hello, my name is Julia Steiner, and today I'll be talking to you about the Arnolfini Portrait, which was painted by the artist Jan van Eyck. Jan van Eyck is an early Netherlandish painter who is believed to have been born during the time of the Holy Roman Empire in a town called Maaseik, located in Belgium. He is thought to have been born somewhere between 1380 to 1395, although the date of his birth is only speculated on, as no one knows it for certain. He also passed away on July 9th, 1441, in Bruges, Belgium, and he is buried in the graveyard of Church of Saint Donation. Much of his early life is only guessed upon as well, as he is from quite a long time ago. However, people do know that he is married to Margaret van Eyck, whom he had one child with, named Liviane. Additionally, it is known that he worked in two courts, giving him quite a high social standing, which was extraordinary, especially for a painter. But his artwork was impressive as well, as it brought a new sense of realism and illusionism to the themes of medieval artwork. And Jan van Eyck was also known to have perfected the new method of oil painting, while his brother created transparent finishing glazes, which allowed for better protection of the paints used. Anyway, on to the painting itself. The Arnolfini Portrait has many names, including, but not limited to, the Arnolfini Wedding, the Arnolfini Marriage, the Portrait of Giovanni Arnolfini and his wife, and it was made in the year of 1434 as a panel painting. Panel painting is when the artist paints the artwork on a piece of wood, or on several, where it goes together to form a more complete work. However, in this case, it was a single oak panel. The painting itself is a full-length double portrait showing the full bodies of the two figures. Van Eyck also included a nice effect by suggesting the natural light coming through the window, illuminating the scene with subtle tones and shades. Van Eyck also added a level of perspective, pushing back the artwork with the use of highly intricate mirror, and where it was speculated where he used a magnifying glass to include the finer details, and how he left a signature of sorts in Gothic script in Latin just above the mirror, which says that Van Eyck was here. Additionally, the painting is still in great shape, even after all these years, with only little damages and alterations here and there. Van Eyck used a technique which included adding layer and layer of thin, translucent paints to add to the intensity of the tone and color. Oil painting dries much slower than most tempera paints, which he used to his advantage when he blended the colors together when they were still wet, to create a gentle and subtle shift in tones and colors. This is evident in his paintings, as they show the use of his calming suggestions of light, muted colors, and perspectives. The artwork was also painted in what is called illusionism. Illusionism is when the artist creates a piece that seems almost as though it shares the space with the viewer, without over-exaggerating, which adds to the realism involved, and further emphasizes his skill level during this time. These paintings are more examples of illusionism art. Because of these reasons, the Arnolfini Portrait is considered to be one of the most original and complex paintings in Western art. The portrait itself is of a merchant man and his seemingly pregnant wife, both adorning expensive clothes inside a lavish room, which suggested the wealth and status of the people painted within. There were also fruits by the window-sill, which further emphasized their wealth, as they needed to have been exported, and were considered a delicacy. The identities of the two in the portrait were thought to be Giovanni di Arrigo Arnolfini, with a wealthy merchant from the town called Lucca in Tuscany, Italy, and his wife, who was later identified as Gian Sanami. At first, that had been the widely accepted identity and marital status of the two. However, a discovery in 1997 supplied new information that stated that they had been married in 1447, which was 13 years after the date of the painting, and 6 years after Van Eyck's death, meaning that it was impossible for the painting to have been done while they were married, especially if the woman had been pregnant, as at the time it was strongly against the religion of the time to be expecting a child before marriage. Though even her pregnancy was a mystery, as she could be pregnant, or maybe it was just the way she wore heavy robes and was holding it near her stomach. Nonetheless, this brought a bout of confusion, and people debated upon the identity of those depicted. Some believed that it could either be the originally thought Giovanni di Arrigo Arnolfini or his cousin, Giovanni di Niccolò Arnolfini, and their respective wives. Giovanni di Niccolò had already been a subject of a few of Van Eyck's paintings previously, and his wife had died during childbirth by February 1433, so the possibility wasn't unlikely, as that was 1 year before the painting was created, so it can be speculated to be a memorial portrait of the deceased woman, and it could explain the possible pregnancy. Now, on to how the portrait got to its current resting place. Around 1516, what had been the owner of the portrait died, and it went into Don Diego de Guevaro's possession. He was a Spanish courtier of the Habsburg, and it was believed that he had known the Arnolfinis in the later years of their life. However, only 1 year later he gave the painting to Margaret of Austria, who added it to her painting collection. Though, at this time, the painting went by a different name, called the Arnolfini. Once inherited by Margaret's niece, the painting was transported to Spain in 1556 and was soon taken into the possession of Philip of Spain. From then on, it remained in the Alcazar Palace in Madrid, even when it was rebuilt into the Royal Palace of Madrid. Then, it left its place many years later in 1816, when the painting was moved to London with Colonel James Hay, who was a Scottish soldier, when he had apparently fallen in love with the painting and persuaded the owner to sell it to him. Hay then, several years later, had offered the painting to Prince Regent, where it wasn't seen until a public exhibition in 1841, and in 1842 was purchased for €600, and is now in its final resting place in the National Gallery in London. Unfortunately, it is without its original frame and shuttering. Even so, it was because of the symbolism and incredibly detailed nature of this art that stood out, as even by today's standards, it is a magnificent painting, and you could almost imagine the feel of the dog, or of the soft furs on the coat, and even the wooden shoes located on the ground. Everything had its own texture to it, and every item was unique, adding to the magic of the painting. So, for these reasons, the Arnolfini portrait was revolutionary for the time. That's all. Thank you for watching.